Good evening, everybody. Good evening. How y'all doing this evening? People. I was looking at some stuff that intrigued me today about Mr. Donald Trump. And judge, I told y'all, there was a video yesterday I just told y'all, the judges are not playing. They're not playing, people. These judges are not playing. Y'all get ready to find out what Funny Bone's talking about. How was y'all day today? How was work? How was housework? Whatever work you done, how was it today? Kind of cold down here. Was Funny Bone a little bit rainy stuff, you know. Rain in the forecast for the next couple of days. And it's cold rain too. It's not hot. So it's, you know, changing the weather. You know, that's the time of the year. But people, Donald Trump, I told y'all everything is going to collapse on Donald Trump all at the same time. And that's what's happening, people. Financially and all. But when you want to hurt somebody really, really bad, somebody that's used to the privileged life, used to wealth and all that kind of stuff, when you take that away from them first, it kind of run them crazy. They don't know what to do. Now they know how the common man feel. When is the first of the month, bills due. You trying to make ends meet. Now Donald Trump don't see what real Americans have experienced. Not the privileged life. Real life. But the unfortunate thing, I think Donald Trump will be experiencing that locked up. That's what I believe. And it looks more and more like that every day. They know Donald Trump ain't gonna be able to pay this fine what this judge is ordering. They know that. Why do you think they gave it to him? They know he ain't gonna be able to pay it. They know that. Yeah. But y'all take a listen to what Funny Bone talks about. And all this stuff with E.G. and Carroll, all this stuff coming back. He want them to throw that out. Donald Trump want them to treat him like he privileged. Throw all his bad stuff out. The real world don't work like that. And he getting ready to find out. Y'all take a listen.
What's the latest legal twist and turn there?
All right. Well, the president and his legal team appealing to the Supreme Court, asking the High Court to take a look at that civil verdict back from 2023 that held Trump liable for sexually abusing E.G. Carroll during an encounter in a New York department store in the 90s, and then for defaming her decades later. Now,
okay, so you need to understand what just...
That's $88 million gone. Ain't no recouping that. That's gone. What he asked the Supreme Court to look at that for? For what? That's over the shit, fool. You already had to pay that. They ain't gonna overlook you. Now the old Supreme Court probably would. But now they motivated. Motivated against you, Donald Trump. Yeah. Your defense, line of defense, is crumbling. Your last line of defense is the Supreme Court. They done turned it back on you, buddy. So now we see what you're going to do. Be in that crime. That's what you're doing now. You don't want nobody to know it. But Funny Bone knows it.
It's happened in New York because this is the kind of financial catastrophe that could fundamentally reshape Trump's entire empire.
Yeah.
It could potentially force him into a situation where he has to sell off major assets
That's gonna
or
happen.
potentially face jail time if he refuses to comply with the judge's orders.
Yeah, he's going.
A New York judge has just enforced a massive civil fraud judgment against President Trump, and we are talking about a judgment that requires Trump to pay back approximately $355 million in ill-gotten gains, plus interest that brings the total to over $450 million.
Wow.
This is not some small legal dispute or some minor
$450 million. People. How is Donald Trump gonna pay that and they done froze all his assets? What he gonna do? How he gonna save it? How he gonna raise the money? His president's salary ain't gonna cover none of that. None of it. Can y'all say big trouble? Somebody in big trouble. In every single way, like I told y'all Do y'all believe me now? Donald Trump is at that hole that he's teetering. And he's teetering toward the hole. Bullseye. Come on, it's a witch hunt. Well, if it's a witch hunt, they got a witch, wizard, or whatever you want to be called. And you did it to yourself, just like your buddy did it. Y'all listen to this.
Financial penalty that Trump can just shrug off and move on from. This is a judgment that is so large that it threatens Trump's financial viability and threatens the stability of his entire business empire that he has spent decades building. The judge is requiring Trump to pay this money back because Trump engaged in fraud by inflating the value of his assets on financial statements in order to secure loans and insurance from banks and insurance companies that would not have given him those loans and that insurance if they had known the true value of his assets. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest.
Can y'all say Donald Trump is caught up with in every way? Can y'all say that? Cause he caught up in every way. See, now, just like I told y'all, it's a different Congress. It's a different House. It's a different Senate. It's different. Everybody see through Donald Trump. The con is up. I've been telling y'all the last couple of videos, once the con is up, what do you have? Chaos. He likes to cause chaos everywhere. He don't like it when it comes back to him. But this when it come back full circle. Full circle, buddy. When Donald Trump was doing all this irrational stuff, when he first got back in office, all that illegal stuff, trying to be a dictator, trying to be like Putin. And now you revealing and finding out why Putin had an upper hand on Donald Trump. Cause all this bubble stuff. Y'all look all that bubble stuff up. Y'all know what Funny Bone talk about. Funny Bone go in detail after a while. Let Funny Bone, do what he do. Y'all just keep hitting those thumbs up and y'all keep subscribing and sharing it with your friends or tell them to share it. Tell your friends to subscribe. Get us where we need to be, people. Get us where we need to be. Because Funny Bone gonna bring this news to y'all point blank, period. I'm gonna bring it to you. Because I'm always watching. Always watching. Just like I told my sister. Like I was gonna be watching Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm gonna be watching. Funny Bone always watching. People, your man Donald Trump is in bad trouble. Bad trouble. Couldn't happen to a better person.
Ben, if you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to you every day. Support what we're doing, join us, and be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
The president has repeatedly denied her claims, but it was 11 months ago that the Court of Appeals, the U.S. Court of Appeals, actually upheld the verdict. Now again, the president is appealing directly to the U.S. Supreme Court. It is not known, Gotti, when the Supreme Court would make a decision as to whether to even take up this case.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, we'll be checking back with you a whole lot before
They ain't going to take it up.
Gabe Gutierrez at
That's
the
over
White
with.
House tonight. Gabe, thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and
That's
top stories
over.
on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
To me, people, that's Donald Trump trying to recoup some of the money that he knows that he's going to need. He knows he's going to need that money. So he's trying to recoup that. That's what I believe. Before it even happens. Just like he tried to pardon himself before this even happened. Guilt written all over. Guilty is hell. Guilty is homemade sin. Guilty. That's all to it. You can appeal Eugene Carroll's verdict all you want to. That's over with in the books, and they're not finna help you. They're not gonna give you a dime for that. $88 million that you lost for that, $5 million at first, and then you did it again, and it cost you 83 after that. That's in the books. They ain't gonna overturn that. All this money you know you're getting rid of owe. So you telling on yourself, fool.
Erupting in fury about this judgment and calling it a political hit job and claiming that it is part of some broader effort by the courts and by his enemies to destroy him and bring him down.
No.
Trump is saying that the judgment is unfair and that it is excessive and that it is unconstitutional.
Yeah, please.
Trump has been posting on social media and making statements to reporters where he claims that the whole thing is politically motivated and that the judge has it out for him. But
Wait a minute. Did he say breaking the Constitution? Which that's what Donald Trump's been doing ever since he's been back in his second term. I know he didn't have the nerve to say something about somebody else breaking the Constitution. See what I'm saying? Deflecting. You the one broke the Constitution, fool. Over and over again. And now that same Constitution is going to work against you just like it do every other human being, American, that breaks the law. No difference. Your money shielded you for years. But now, we know you ain't got a damn penny. We know that. After this damn judgment, your family ain't gonna have pennies for years to come. Years to come. You the first one. Wait till they hit Ivanka and all the rest of them. Y'all ain't gonna be associated with broke. Just like it was been associated with wealth all these years. The role's gonna be reversed. Gonna be associated with poverty. Now you're gonna see like all the other Americans that had to start from nothing and claw their way up. You're gonna see the real America, Donald Trump. Like we have to see it. The people that's not privileged. Now you're gonna see how hard it is. But the thing about that is you pretend like you don't remember it. That's what happened. You know, listen to some of this heathen.
reality is that Trump engaged in fraud. Trump inflated the value of his assets. Trump used those inflated valuations to secure loans and insurance that he would not have been able to get if he had been honest about the true value of his assets. This is fraud. This is illegal. The judge has decided that Trump needs to pay back the money that he obtained through his fraudulent conduct. The original judgment came down in February of 2024 when Judge Arthur Engoron issued a ruling finding Trump liable for fraud and imposing a penalty of $354.9 million. But that was just the base amount of the penalty. Once you add in interest on that amount, the total judgment comes to $454.2 million. That is an enormous amount of money. For most people, that would be a sum so large that they could never possibly pay it back in their entire lifetime. But Trump is trying to argue that even though he owes this money, somehow the judgment is excessive and unconstitutional and should be reduced or eliminated.
No, sir.
Trump has been appealing the judgment and trying to get higher courts to overturn it or reduce the amount that he owes. An appeals court looked at Trump's arguments in August of 2025 and issued a ruling that was somewhat mixed. The appeals court said that the penalty was excessive under something called the Excessive Fines Clause, which is a constitutional provision that prevents the government from imposing fines that are disproportionate to the offense. But at the same time, the appeals court upheld the core finding that Trump engaged in fraud and that he obtained money through fraudulent conduct.
That's
so
important.
The appeals court basically said, we are going to reduce some of the penalties because they are excessive, but we are going to uphold the fraud finding, and we are going to require Trump to pay back at least some of the money that he obtained through his fraud. This is still a huge victory for the prosecutors and for the judge because it means the fraud has been confirmed and Trump is going to have to pay back money no matter what. Trump has been trying to delay the payment of this judgment by posting a bond. He posted a bond of $175 million in order to pause asset seizures while his appeals continue. A bond is basically a guarantee that if Trump loses his appeals, he will pay the full amount of the judgment. By posting a bond, Trump is able to keep his assets from being seized immediately, but it also means that Trump has already had to come up with $175 million in cash that he has had to tie up in order to post that bond. The judge is now demanding that Trump pay the full amount of the judgment promptly and fully without any delays or payment plans.
Wow.
The judge is making it clear that Trump cannot just string this out indefinitely and pay the judgment off over a number of years. The judge wants the money paid back now. If Trump refuses to pay the judgment, the judge has threatened to freeze Trump's assets and potentially even hold Trump in contempt of court, which could result in jail time. The judge is making it absolutely clear that Trump cannot just ignore this judgment and pretend that it does not exist. Trump has to either pay the money or face serious consequences. This is a situation that puts Trump in an incredibly difficult position because paying $450 million is not something that most people can do without severely impacting their financial situation.
Trump can't either.
Trump has been trying to argue that the judgment is unfair
Nope.
and that he should not have to pay it, but the courts have been consistently rejecting those arguments and telling Trump that he needs to pay the money that he owes. Let us really dig into what happened here and how Trump ended up owing $450 million and what the fraud that Trump engaged in actually was. Because understanding the details of the fraud is important to understanding why the judge has been so firm about requiring Trump to pay this money back.
Yep.
The fraud that Trump engaged in was real estate fraud. Trump was taking real estate properties that he owned and he was inflating the value of those properties on financial statements that he submitted to banks and to insurance companies. Trump would take a property that was worth, say, $100 million and he would tell banks and insurance companies that it was worth $200 million or even more. Trump would use these inflated valuations to secure loans from the banks at favorable interest rates based on the inflated values of the properties. Trump would also use these inflated valuations to secure insurance at lower premiums based on the artificially inflated values. The problem with this scheme is that it is fraud. It is illegal to misrepresent the value of property in order to secure loans or insurance. If you tell a bank that your property is worth more than it actually is in order to get a larger loan or a loan at a better interest rate, that is fraud. If you tell an insurance company that your property is worth more than it actually is in order to get lower insurance premiums, that is fraud. Trump did this repeatedly over many years with multiple properties. Trump submitted financial statements to banks and insurance companies that contained false information about the value of his properties. Banks and insurance companies made lending and insurance decisions based on these false statements. Trump obtained money and insurance benefits that he would not have obtained if he had been honest about the true value of his properties. Judge Engoron found that Trump's conduct amounted to fraud and that Trump had obtained money through his fraudulent conduct. The judge calculated the amount of money that Trump had obtained through the fraud by looking at the difference between the inflated values that Trump had reported and the actual values of the properties. The judge then ruled that Trump had to pay back not just the money that he obtained, but also interest on that money going back to the time that he obtained it. This is a standard remedy in fraud cases. When someone obtains money through fraud, they have to give the money back, and they usually have to pay interest as well because they had the use of the money all this time, and they were benefiting from having that money available to them while the person they defrauded was harmed. The fact that the appeals court described the penalties as excessive is interesting because it suggests that even the appeals court thinks the penalty is very large. But the appeals court also made clear that Trump has to pay back the money that he actually obtained through the fraud. So even if some of the penalties get reduced, Trump is still going to have to pay back a huge sum of money. Trump is apparently trying to argue that he should not have to pay back the full amount of the fraud gains because the penalty is excessive and because it would be unfair to require him to pay back so much money. But the courts have been rejecting this argument because the courts understand that when someone commits fraud and obtains money through fraud, they have to give the money back. The bond that Trump posted is significant because it shows that Trump was able to come up with $175 million in cash in order to post the bond. This suggests that Trump has access to significant amounts of liquid assets and that he is not in a position of complete financial distress. If Trump had no money and no way to come up with the bond, the judge probably would not have allowed him to post it. The fact that Trump was able to post the bond suggests that he has enough money to potentially pay the full judgment if he were forced to do so. But the judge is making it clear that Trump cannot just post a bond and then drag out the litigation indefinitely. The judge wants the money paid back now. Trump's appeals are continuing, and Trump is arguing that the judgment should be reduced or eliminated. But the courts have been consistently rejecting Trump's arguments. The appeals court upheld the core finding that Trump engaged in fraud. The judge has been firm about requiring Trump to pay the money that he owes. It seems increasingly likely that Trump is going to have to pay at least most of the $450 million that the judge has ordered him to pay. This is going to have a significant impact on Trump's financial situation and on his ability to maintain and develop his business empire. The timing of this judgment is particularly significant because it is happening while Trump is dealing with multiple other legal crises. Trump is facing criminal investigations. Trump is facing other civil lawsuits. Trump is dealing with the Kash Patel scandal and the other crises happening in his administration. All of these legal crises are creating enormous expenses for Trump because Trump has to hire lawyers to defend himself in all of these cases. The $450 million judgment is just the latest in a series of financial hits that Trump has been taking. This fraud judgment also raises questions about Trump's financial situation more broadly. If Trump was willing to commit fraud in order to inflate the value of his properties and secure loans and insurance, was he committing fraud in other contexts as well?
Yes.
Were there other deals where Trump misrepresented the value of properties or assets in order to secure financing?
Hell yes.
The prosecutors and investigators have probably thought about these questions, and there may be other fraudulent deals that Trump engaged in that could result in additional civil or criminal liability.
People, let me tell y'all something. There ain't no could, it is. Donald Trump committed fraud to start his empire. He been committing real estate fraud ever since he went in business. And they gonna look all of it up. 450 million judge, he gonna pay all that. And then some. Like he said, he's gonna have to pay lawyers and everything. That's just a judgment. You gotta pay lawyers, and you gotta pay some damn good ones. Damn good. No court appointed attorneys can handle this. He gotta have some good lawyers, like Diddy. They gotta have some good representation. Cause both clients are trash. Both of them. So it's all over with people. Donald Trump, I told you, the dragnet closing in. Closing in. Then he trying to go back and duck back and have them toss out Eugene Carroll's verdict. It's not gonna happen. No. And then he want people to be lenient on him, and he's the one committed the fraud. How much is excessive? How is it excessive? Was it excessive when you frauded those people? They paid you all those millions of dollars fraudulently? You didn't care how it hurt their company. They pay you all those millions, as long as you got it. Fraudulently. But that's why they are meticulously interviewing your family members. Because when they take you down, I told you they always start with the head and go down to the ass. All y'all jackasses going down. All of you. So Ivanka, her husband, all the Trumps, Eric with his high ass, all of them are going to have to pay significantly. Watch and see what I tell y'all. Because that's all they've used the White House for, is a cash cow. The Trumps. That's all they use the White House for. An illegal, fraudulent cash cow. And it's coming back to home. In every single way. So people, I saw this $450 million Donald Trump's got to pay. And he's going to have to pay that pretty soon. Remember I told you they throwing him out of court? All this stuff is on Donald Trump's little bird brain. Y'all know his mentality is a first grader. You know that. So when he leave the court, then he find out that this judgment is staring him in the face that he can't prolong it anymore. He's getting ready to have to pay it. Like that man said, if he can pay all that, what is it going to leave him? Y'all going to start seeing him going back online, him and Melania, selling fruit cups, oranges, tomatoes, beets. So beets good for your hair and all that stuff. So you need to get some, put some up there in Donald Trump's head. Right up there. You take that mop off of the head. But people, I saw this. Donald Trump is about to have his butt handed to him. In every single way, people. In every single way. 450 million. You know, if you're a billionaire, just say he had 2 billion. 450 million off one settlement, one judgment? And then you got several more pending? People, can y'all say peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? With a thin line of both, the peanut butter and the jelly. Trying to make it last. That's what Donald Trump gonna be facing. So people, these judges are not playing. They're not playing. And I told y'all, this is 3 hours old. Funabone gonna bring it to you. If y'all hit those thumbs up, subscribe, hit all content, Funabone is gonna keep you in the loop. You're gonna know. You are gonna know. So Donald Trump can project all he wants. We see what's going on in court. The real world. So people, I saw this. Y'all like the video. Y'all tell me what y'all like about the story. What do y'all think about the judge ordering Donald Trump to pay $450 million? Man. That's wild, people. Wow. So, Mr. Trump, the ball is in your court, but we know what you're trying to do. You're trying to call a timeout. Like you've been doing. You've been trying to stall the game. Calling all these damn timeouts. You done ran out of timeouts. Fool! No more timeouts. No, time is in. Time is in for you to go in the pen. That's what time it is. But people, I saw this. If y'all like the story, y'all like the video, like I said, hit those thumbs up. Let Funabone know what y'all think about this video. Even though you didn't catch it live, you still comment. Funabone gonna see it. Y'all have a rest of a good evening. Funabone love you.